For years, there has been a silent frustration among Canon shooters, a feeling that if you weren't shooting full frame, you weren't shooting seriously. We were told that APS-C was just a stepping stone, a training ground where you learn the basics before you graduated to the real cameras. But that narrative is finally dead. The release of the Canon EOS R7 Mark II in February 2026 isn't just a new camera launch. It is a complete philosophical rewrite of Canon's history. We are looking at a beast that features a rumored stacked 40-megapixel sensor, speed that rivals flagships, and a design that proves APS-C is no longer a compromise. It is a destination. If you're a wildlife photographer, a sports shooter, or a hybrid creator who has been waiting for Canon to stop protecting their full-frame lineup and finally unleash the potential of the crop sensor, this is the moment you have been waiting for. To understand why this camera is such a massive deal, we have to look at the context. For the longest time, Canon and Nikon operated on a ladder system. You bought a Rebel or a double-digit DSLR, and the marketing machine gently pushed you toward buying a 5D or eventually an R5. But the market has shifted beneath their feet. Competitors prove that an APS-C camera could be a professional tool, offering reach and speed without the massive weight and price tag of full-frame glass. The R7 Mark II is Canon's answer to that shift. It represents a strategic pivot. They are no longer treating this format as a learner stage. Instead, they're building a flagship APS-C mirrorless body designed to keep you in the system, not pressure you to leave it. This camera is for the photographer who wants the reach of a 1.6x crop for a bird in flight, but demands the autofocus performance of an R3. Let's talk about the heart of this machine, because the sensor strategy is where things get incredibly interesting. The rumors and forecasts are pointing toward a resolution bump that takes us into the 30+, potentially even 40-megapixel range. Now, on paper, people might say that's too dense, but you have to understand who this camera is for. If you're shooting wildlife, you're almost always focal length limited. You're always trying to get closer to that eagle, that lion, or that athlete on the far side of the field. A 40-megapixel sensor gives you massive cropping flexibility. It means you can shoot a subject that is far away and still punch in during post-production and come away with a sharp, printable file. It's not about winning a numbers game on a spec sheet. It is about practical utility for shooters who can't physically get closer to their subjects. However, high resolution on a smaller sensor usually comes with a penalty, which is rolling shutter and noise. This is where the stacked sensor rumor changes everything. If Canon indeed implements a stacked architecture in the R7 Mark II, it solves the biggest problem with the original R7. The original camera was fantastic, but the electronic shutter had significant rolling shutter issues. If you panned quickly with a fast bird, the background would slant, or the bird's wings would look distorted. A stacked sensor has a dramatically faster readout speed. This means you can finally use the electronic shutter for high-speed action without fear. You can shoot completely silently, which is crucial when you're trying not to spook a skittish animal at dawn. This tech trickles down from the absolute top-tier cameras, and bringing it to the APS-C lineup is a statement that Canon takes this segment seriously. Of course, whenever we talk about high-density sensors, the conversation inevitably turns to low-light performance. There's a fear that cramming 40 million pixels onto an APS-C chip will ruin high ISO capabilities. But technology has moved on. The expectation here is that Canon will use backside illuminated technology to balance that readout speed with noise performance. While a full-frame sensor will always have a physical advantage in gathering light, the gap is narrowing. For the target audience of this camera, the trade-off is worth it. If you're shooting sports or wildlife, you often have decent light, or you're using fast telephoto lenses. The ability to have that extra reach and resolution usually outweighs the need to shoot at ISO 25,000. Furthermore, modern noise reduction software has become so good that the noise penalty of APS-C is less of a factor in 2026 than it was 5 years ago. One of the major pain points of the previous generation was the buffer. It is heartbreaking to be in the middle of a burst, tracking the perfect moment, and have a camera freeze up because it can't write the data fast enough. The R7 Mark II is expected to address this aggressively. We aren't just looking for a faster burst rate. We are looking for a deeper buffer and faster card standards. This camera is built for spray and pray in the best possible way, allowing you to hold that shutter down as a cheetah chases a gazelle, confident that the camera won't choke before the action is over. We are likely looking at electronic shooting speeds reaching up to 30 frames per second. That is cinema-level frame rates for still photography. It ensures that you never miss the micro moment where the ball hits the bat or the bird's wings are in the perfect position. Let's discuss autofocus, because this is where the real magic happens. It's not about flashy buzzwords anymore. It's about reliability. The R7 Mark II is expected to refine Canon's already legendary dual-pixel AF. We are talking about stickier tracking. The frustration with older autofocus systems is that they would grab the subject, but the moment the subject went behind a tree or another player, the focus would jump to the background. The new algorithms are designed for better subject retention. It's about the camera understanding that the bird is still there, even if it's momentarily obscured. We expect smoother handoffs between different detection modes and fewer edge case failures. For a working professional, this consistency matters far more than having 10,000 focus points. You need to know that when you hit that AF on button, the camera locks on and stays locked on, regardless of how cluttered the environment is. Now, we have to look at the physical nature of the camera. The R7 Mark II isn't trying to be a small, full-frame camera. It is leaning into the strengths of APS-C. The body will likely be robust and weather-sealed, similar to the R6 or R5 line. But the real advantage is the lenses. You can carry an R7 Mark II and a 100 to 500 millimeters lens and handhold it all day. Try doing that with a 600 millimeters f/4 on a full-frame body, and your back will hate you. This portability is a huge selling point for travel photographers and hikers. It allows you to be mobile, to hike further, and to react faster. The in-body image stabilization is also expected to be top-tier. Because the sensor is smaller and lighter, the IBIS mechanism can throw it around more easily to compensate for shake. This means you can shoot at slower shutter speeds handheld, which helps negate some of that high ISO noise we talked about earlier. Video is the other half of the story. We're long past the days where a camera was just for photos. The R7 Mark II is shaping up to be a true hybrid workhorse. We are expecting oversampled 4K, likely derived from the full width of that high-resolution sensor. This gives you incredibly sharp footage. There is even chatter about 8K capabilities, or at least high frame rate 4K specifically for nature filmmaking. If Canon includes higher-end log profiles, like C-Log 3, it elevates this camera from a consumer tool to a B camera for cinema productions. Imagine a documentary filmmaker who needs a crash cam or a camera to mount on a drone or a gimbal. The R7 Mark II fits that niche perfectly. It gives you the depth of field control that is easier to manage than full frame, which is actually a benefit in macro and wildlife cinematography, where keeping the subject in focus is a constant struggle. Positioning this camera in the market is tricky, but Canon seems to have found the sweet spot. It is not intended to be a cheap imitation of the R5. It is a respectful, powerful alternative. It creates a clear separation. If you need extreme low light and shallow depth of field for portraits, you buy full frame. If you need reach, speed, and portability, you buy the R7 Mark II. This clarity is refreshing. It stops the upgrade anxiety where users feel like they're missing out. By making the R7 Mark II a flagship in its own right, Canon is telling us that APS-C is a valid professional choice. Pricing will likely reflect this premium status. It won't be a budget camera, but will sit in a bracket that offers immense value compared to the $5,000 or $6,000 flagships. It respects the investment of a user. What makes this release so exciting is it closes a strategic blind spot. For a while, if you wanted a pro-level APS-C body, you looked at Fujifilm or the Nikon D500. Canon had left that door slightly open. With this release, they're slamming it shut. They're locking in the wildlife and sports enthusiasts who might have been tempted to switch systems. They're offering a body that feels modern, forward-looking, and robust. The integration with RF lenses is key here too. Being able to use the incredible RF glass on a crop body creates a system with terrifying potential. A 70 to 200 mm f/2.8 effectively becomes a 112 to 320 mm f/2.8 equivalent in terms of reach. That is a dream focal length for portraits and medium-range sports. The processing power inside the R7 Mark II will be doing the heavy lifting. We aren't expecting experimental chips, but rather the proven, robust digit processors that ensure the camera starts up instantly. The menus are snappy, and the images are processed with that pleasing Canon color science we all know and love. This reliability is boring to talk about on a spec sheet, but it is vital in the real world. When you're out in the cold, waiting for a rare bird, you don't want a camera that lags. You want a tool that feels like an extension of your eye. The R7 Mark II is designed to be invisible in your hands, letting you focus entirely on the image. So what is my honest opinion on this product? I think the Canon EOS R7 Mark II is going to be the most important camera release of 2026 for the average enthusiast and semi-pro. While the $6,000 flagships get all the headlines, this is the camera that people will actually buy and use. It democratizes professional speed. It takes the technology that was previously reserved for the Olympics and puts it in the hands of a bird watcher at the local park. It proves that Canon is listening. They realize that ignoring the high-end APS-C market was a mistake, and they're correcting it with force. If the rumors about the stacked sensor hold true, this camera effectively kills the need for a full-frame body for 90% of wildlife shooters. It is that good. It combines the best of both worlds, the reach of crop and the performance of a flagship. This camera is a signal that the format wars are over. It's not about which sensor size is best anymore. It's about which tool is right for the job. And for anything that moves fast or is far away, the R7 Mark II is shaping up to be the right tool. It is a long-term investment. It's not a camera you will feel the need to replace in 2 years. It has the resolution, the speed, and the autofocus to remain competitive for a long time. It restores credibility to the segment and gives Canon shooters a reason to be proud of their crop sensor gear. It is a strategic masterclass, redefining expectations and likely forcing competitors to scramble to catch up. As we move closer to the release date, the excitement is palpable. We're looking at a device that doesn't just take pictures, it captures moments that would otherwise be lost. It handles the difficult lighting, the fast motion, and the unpredictable nature of the world with ease. Whether you're a seasoned pro looking for a second body or an enthusiast looking to make your final big camera purchase, the R7 Mark II demands your attention. It is the culmination of years of feedback and technological advancement, packaged into a body that is ready for anything. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of Canon's lineup and want to stay updated on every leak, every spec, and the final review when this beast hits the market, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your photography friends who are still debating between full frame and APS-C, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. The future of APS-C is here, and it looks incredible. Thanks for watching.